Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, hello, everyone. It isn't Steve, it's Becky Brown, and Happy New Year, wherever this finds you. I know we have a great group of folks that watch us on YouTube and listen through our app, and you can too. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and button or share it with a friend. But I'm also joined by Mylan Yurkovich and Dr. Alice Benton. Happy New Year, you guys.
Hey, Becky. Great to be with you.
I get to spend the first few days of New Year's hanging with New Life.
It's awesome.
It's going to be a good year.
Well, you know, at the beginning of every new year, people do those resolutions, right? I mean, or at least we try to.
Some do.
Yeah, some do. I know. And I wonder, how much success have you guys had in setting resolutions?
I always have more success when I set them in comparison to when I don't set them. So even if my success is limited, I do inch forward a little bit when I set a goal and I share it with somebody else.
That is great. I heard somebody talking about micro goals or micro resolutions, you know, those little bitty steps moving forward, because a lot of times we'll say we're going to lose 25 pounds and we really need to focus on maybe 5. But Mylan, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I like making resolutions throughout the whole year if I feel there's something I need to tighten up or change or whatever. But if I had to say I have a New Year's resolution, because we're having a drought here in California, it's to take shorter showers.
Okay, that's good.
That explains a few.
I'm a water guy, okay? You know, I'm just a pool, ocean guy, and I love showers and water, and it's going to require discipline.
It explains
that's
a
your
few
philanthropic view.
It explains a few in-studio issues I'm having with Mylan today. Please go back to the full shower length, Mylan.
No. It's not a full shower. It's a shorter shower. I mean, I can just
there you go.
I could just sit in there for a long time.
It's a micro shower. That's what
see,
about.
now that's
a problem.
That's the micro resolution you were talking about.
I don't think Kay had full approval of this resolution.
Oh, she does.
Well,
she believes I should have shorter showers too, because we really do have a drought here in California.
We do.
But seriously, if someone's listening and they are struggling with setting a resolution, you know, what would be something that either of you could offer in that direction? You know, we talk about SMART goals. We actually have a tip sheet, 6 steps to turning resolutions into realities, and you can get one if you want to call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'll help you with that. But Mylan or Alice, what do you suppose would be a good suggestion for either establishing resolution or?
Well, Becky, you're right with this micro goal idea, and research bears this out, that ridiculously small steps towards some bigger finish line that we have, they do help us to get there.
That's right.
So if it's just, I'm just putting on my tennis shoes today. I'm not going after the full workout. I'm putting on the tennis shoes. I'm just going to spend 3 minutes doing that activity I wish I did more of. It's got to be so doable that it sounds laughable, because we actually do make progress that way.
I think that's brilliant. I was going to say that it has to be realistic, which is the same thing you're saying, that we start small and we realize we can't accomplish great things in a short period of time. People overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what can happen in 10. So we have to have the longer view, but it's consistency. So realistic and consistent.
Well, and you know what? Maybe this year your resolution was to seek help. So you could start by calling us today, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to be taking your calls for the next couple hours. And that could be your micro step into the new year to make all things new. And, you know, in order to get your new life, you've got to get rid of your old life. It's going to cost you a little bit. But we are so glad you're listening today and hope that you'll consider good thing you hear. Give us a call.
We have been estranged off and on for 10 years or more, and he has a lot of grievances and anger and bitterness and hatred toward me.
We've been having little disagreements here and there about grandmom's input.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Fearless Parenting, Doing Life with Your Adult Children. It's an online workshop we're holding on Saturday, January 29th. Jim Burns, longtime friend and colleague, he's president of Homework, and he's going to join me.
You invested 2 decades of your life with your children, and you've got to figure out how do you reparent and reinvent the relationship. It's not easy, but it's possible, and it can be better than ever.
With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day online workshop will provide practical advice and hopeful encouragement for navigating the parent-adult-child relationship. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so glad you joined us today, and we're taking calls. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. I'm also excited because we have a new gift for your donations. Beginning this year, we have the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, and you can get a copy at any time this month in January for any gift. And so, all of our life recovery materials are so life-changing, and I think that this might be a good way, again, to start the new year. And we're going to start with a good call, and we're going to talk to
Becky?
Carl.
Becky,
oh, go ahead, Mylan.
That's an excellent thing to add to a resolution, that you pray about it, that you write it down in your prayer journal and say, Lord, help me with this. I mean, you're asking the Lord to help you accomplish something. So I would add that, and that devotional journal would be fabulous to be able to assist that. We have to keep reminding ourselves. So thank you.
That's a great idea.
Thanks for the intro of that.
You're welcome. And now I'm going to introduce us to Carl, who's calling us from Philadelphia and listens on WFIL. Thanks for calling, Carl. How can we help you today?
Hi, good afternoon. I just was seeking your wisdom and insight. My wife and I both are here, and we're just want to best how to understand and unpack our 14-year-old daughter. Teenage angst is normal, and that's a necessary part of life, but increasingly over the past 2 years, she's becoming more withdrawn, less likely to speak in a public area. She's always been introverted, and we embrace that and love that about her, and we love her for all that she is. But it just seems that the freshman year in high school, there's just a massive withdrawal going on, and when we try to break through, it's bouts of anger. House chores and things like that are met with massive resistance and almost shutting down and just really being nasty. And we've tried every trick in the book, in the parent handbook, and we're just seeking your guys' wisdom.
That's a great question, Carl. And let's hear what Mylan and Alice have to offer.
Well, having been through this with 4 of my own kids that are grown, and now, 4 grandkids that are teenagers, you're right. There is an element of this that is a part of the natural development of the young person as they transition into adulthood. But as you're describing, Carl, I love the way you're presenting both truths, that she's an introvert, she withdraws, but now it's extreme and she's angry. So what I would recommend, and what I've done when all my kids are at a chippy place like this, or an angry place, or they're lashing out at me, or you and your wife are the lightning rods for their anger, I would just say in a way that I would just address the anger and the hurt. Somewhere under anger is always hurt. And so I would give your daughter time. Because she's an introvert, she thinks before she speaks. And so I would just ask her what hurts. And you don't have to answer me now, but we can tell by your anger that something hurts you, or is hurting you, or scaring you. And that is why you're angry, and we are the lightning rod for your anger. So we want to know about that. We accept the parts of you that that are uniquely you, but this anger has to be tamed because it's not good for you. It's not good for us. So what's hurting you, scaring you? And then give her time to respond and be persistent with that request. She won't be able to tell you why she's angry until she can get to the hurts of the fears. So that's where I would start, Carl. It's a great question. What do you think, Alice?
No,
Carl, do you have a guess as to what her answer is, especially those 2 years ago that you started to see this change?
Yes. So we've actually had a very good dialogue with our daughter, and in these fits of, just anger and rage and shutting down, she's disclosed that she doesn't feel like she has friends at school. She's upset that her friends have let her down. And my wife and I have expressed the fact that, we're always here for you. Your peer-to-peer connections may leave you high and dry, but mom and dad love you unconditionally. And, we're here. But you can't ostracize us. You can't flame out on us. We can't take this behavior anymore. I mean, it's just repetitive, and it goes dormant for a couple of weeks. And then, there's a chore list. And again, the chore list isn't extensive. It's minimal, but we all divide and conquer here within the four walls of our house. And it's just, I don't feel like doing this. I want to straighten my hair. He said, well, we're not doing that right now. We're all working to get the house ready or whatever because we have guests coming over or something. And it's just a total shutdown of this anger, just this very selfish behavior and this very angry behavior. I'm like, listen, you got to get with the program. This isn't happening.
And
so,
what has been the consequence when she's disrespectful in her anger?
I would say either she has more activities that are burdensome onto her. In other words, she has to do more things like unload a dishwasher or lost phone time. She has a job. She gets phenomenal grades. She's in an activity that she absolutely loves. But we either add, like if it's a chore session or something, we're all four of us are working the house to get done, and she drops and shuts down. I said, listen, you got to make a choice here. You either want to do more or you want to do your fair share, or, I'm not going to tolerate this. Mom's not going to tolerate this.
You're really applying so well the parenting principles that we would recommend to you, given that she was let down by friends and is lonely. Has she asked for and have you offered help for that particular area?
We are scheduling a visit with a new life counselor literally this week. We just came back from a vacation and just had an outburst, and we just came to the conclusion in a 12-hour car ride. We're like, this is it. We're not doing this anymore. This is unhealthy behavior, and we need to seek professional counsel just because my wife and I love our kids very much, and we try all different types of techniques. We research, we read, and listen to you guys, of course, and we're just at a loss. And I'm like,
so Carl,
maybe you guys know something that we don't.
Carl, is this your firstborn?
No, second.
Okay. All right. And so how did it go with the first one?
She's very self-motivated, very firstborn, classic gregarious Kevin Nealon, like outgoing, takes the ball and runs with it.
Okay, and so, and I have one more question for you, Carl. How afraid are you of this situation?
I'm afraid because there's pockets of mental illness in our family. Mm-hmm. And what I'm fearing and my wife is fearing is it's treading towards a possible depression or elements of, severe, it can consume, like the aloneness and the anger can really drive her deeper away from meaningful relationships with us and others. And she's amazing. I mean, oh my gosh, when she trusts and comes alive, and I said, Ellie, you're so wonderful right now. Like, this is what people want to be around.
Carl, is she an artist?
Think that she's so scared.
Is she an artist?
Yes.
Aha.
Yes.
Artists really march by the beat of a different drum. And one of the things I would recommend would be to say, okay, your list of chores, or here's what needs to happen, but do it on your own timetable. You don't have to do it exactly when we do it. We don't have to do it all together. You're 14. You pick the timetable, get it done on your own timing. And that way you're removing the pressure of having to conform to something, because artists are nonconformists. I have one for a wife.
Okay.
and she's a rule breaker, I'm telling you, and it's hilarious. We love each other to pieces, but she she just, scribbles outside the lines, and I'm very precise inside the lines, and we laugh about it, but most introvert artists are not fully understood by their families. And Becky, you ask a great question. Often we're comparing them to the successful older one or younger ones that are self-motivated and driven. And so the artist, and I would also want to know her personality type. My wife is on Myers-Briggs, an INFP. It's the most sensitive of all the types, and it's less than 1% of the population. And so it's hard for them. And my wife struggles with the same issue, Carl, friends. And she has very few. And introverts usually have very few friends. They have 2 or 3. And if they lose one of those, it's catastrophic. So
that's it. Because recently she had a very close friend and she would come alive and be gregarious and outgoing, and just bizarre decisions from the parent. They withdrew the child from the relationship, and she was very hurt and dismayed from that.
Yeah.
And that's very relevant in terms of the timetable that we're discussing things right now.
I would really focus on the introvert, the nature of the introvert, but yet you're right. We must command respect, but I wouldn't do it with threats or saying you have to,
we're not going to tolerate this, because you might tolerate stuff, Carl, that you didn't think you were going to tolerate. Giving her some space.
That's right, Becky. Good point. You just need to say this isn't working. Or
there you go.
I would say, this is unacceptable and we have to find a solution here. But to help her understand that introvert part of herself and the artist, I had one son. We have 4 kids, boy, girl. And my second son, the third, is an artist type. And he was the nonconformist of the family. He did not do what everybody else did. And it was hard. And yet he is the most phenomenal dad in the whole world at 44 years old.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mylan. Oh, Alice, you have one more thing for Carl?
I just want to give you some reassurance, Carl, that you and your wife are handling this beautifully. And so even though your daughter may have some symptoms of depression, some tendency towards depression, you're doing all the right things to help her learn how to handle her moods that she has. And her moods will be both part of her strength and part of her burden. But you're really laying out a good path for her. Make sure you're offering the comfort circle regularly from Mylan and Kay's book, and then notice how you handle your fear and what your behavior is when you're most afraid, because you probably have very healthy tendencies and some unhealthy tendencies in your fear, and how that is communicated to your daughter both in your words and in your actions.
We're going to send Carl a copy of How We Love Our Kids. And Carl, I would encourage you and your wife to go with your daughter. I know, Mylan, that's what you guys talk about all the time, is that healing occurs in relationship. And so as opposed to sending her to the counselor to get fixed,
right?
The 3 of you come in together and talk through some of the challenges that may be happening. So we're glad you called today. And I know there's other folks that are having those kind of challenges. And, you've helped a lot of people in just making that phone call, and we're still taking calls. We're going to talk to Donna, who's calling us from Armstrong, British Columbia, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Donna. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi. I was kind of hoping you would point me in the right direction as to trying to figure out what kind of counselor I should be looking at getting. I've been listening to your program now for a few years, and I heard a couple of ladies talking a while back about hiding or burying so far deep sexual abuse as a child, causing all kinds of failures in your life later on because of it. And it's still, sorry, try not to get emotional on this one.
Well, Donna, Donna, this is emotional. Don't apologize for emotions. This is a hurting thing you're asking. So don't apologize.
It is very.
Donna, go ahead and give us your question, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the details.
what kind of a counselor should I be looking at? I've talked to a couple of different people, and it's just like I didn't sync with them. I didn't mesh with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a lady saying that she went through 5 or 6 counselors until you guys gave her a specific kind of counselor to talk to. And I'm wondering if that's maybe what I should be doing.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll explore that, Donna. Do either of you have any questions before we go to the break to think about?
I do. Donna,
Okay.
So you're saying, how do I deal with buried sexual hurts or abuse? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's clear. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great question too, Donna. There's a lot of folks that struggle with those wounds and that trauma, and we'll be back in just a minute with some answers.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Washington, D.C., January 7th through the 9th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits, like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're talking to Donna, who's calling us from British Columbia and says that she's having a struggle with trying to find help for her needs. Mylon and Alice, what would you offer to Donna?
Donna, the struggle to find a clinician that's a good fit for you is completely normal. And your willingness to keep trying, I praise and I honor that, because it's too easy to give up if it didn't work. I'll also say I challenge you to make sure you spend a couple of sessions with a therapist, because there may be some difficulty within you to form an attachment with anyone, which is normal for someone who has suffered the abuse that you have gone through. So I want you to watch out for a tendency to give up too quickly. But I've also talked with people, Donna, who have seen more than 5 clinicians and still hadn't found the right fit yet. So it's that perseverance that will see you to a good fit eventually. Now, I do wonder, without going into details, can you tell us about how old you were when you believe the abuse took place, and was it a family member that perpetrated against you?
I was probably 5 years old when I first remember being pulled up onto a lap and being touched. And then probably maybe a couple years later that I remember family members, people that knew this person, doing the same thing. And then I was probably 14 years old when another very close family member initiated certain things. And I haven't been able to acknowledge it or confront the one close family member. And the one counselor told me that I can't heal until I actually face this person. And I don't know how to go about doing that. Like, how do you face somebody that I have no contact with them?
And Donna, was there ever any legal protection that was enacted on your behalf against these people, or has it all stayed under the radar?
All under the radar. It's never been acknowledged. My parents have both passed now, and they knew about the very first one. I'm sure they did.
And are the perpetrators still alive?
Yes, the very close relative is.
Donna, I am so angry on your behalf that this has taken place and hasn't been addressed by you nor by anyone else. So, of course, you've struggled to confront this yourself, whether it's internally or with the person. And I'll say the advice the therapist gave, there are a variety of ways that we confront the perpetrator. And sometimes we do it without ever talking to them directly. Sometimes we do it only in the safety of the therapy office in an imaginary way or in a prayerful way, but without talking to the perpetrator directly. So there's ways of going about that. As to the kind of therapy that we might recommend for you, there are a couple of different that have come to mind. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, is a trauma that helps us get to memories and emotions that are difficult to access. And so that would be very effective, and it works quickly. That would be helpful for you. There also tends to be inner children that we have developed as we survived and suffered through the abuse, where parts of ourselves have become inaccessible. And that may be the memory, and that may be characteristics or even parts of our personality that really had to hide and had to separate and detach during the abuse that we went through. So a therapist that works with an inner child, or a therapist that does internal family systems, will be able to serve you very well in helping you walk through this.
And we can connect you with someone too, Donna, in the network. I know you're in British Columbia, and we probably don't have someone up there, but we can try to connect you. Mylan, did you have something else that you wanted to add?
Yes. Donna, first of all, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I, too, am angered at your report, and I'm angered at the prevalence of this type of report. This is something that is very, very harmful to people, and the perpetrators, they're still out there. There's lots of people that to this very day are taking advantage of little people, all kinds of individuals, and it is our job to try and stop that. But as to you, I just wanted to tell you, I'm sorry. Number two, it's a process. So when this counselor says you need to confront the perpetrator, as Alice said, there's ways to do that without doing that. But before you do that, you need to go through a process where you're actually facing the reality of your history, and doing that with a skillful therapist that can help you process in such a way that one of the ways we heal from a tremendous loss like this is by grief and acknowledging reality. So what you may do down the line with respect to confrontation with a perpetrator, be it direct or indirect, is something you would do later. The first thing you have to do is start talking to somebody about this, somebody that's skilled and knows what they're doing. And so EMDR and internal family systems is what Alice said, and those are two powerful ways of helping to deal with our inner selves.
I love that idea. And Donna, we're going to have our Emotional Freedom Workshop coming up January 22nd, and that might be a good way
idea
to begin the process. Mm-hmm. And so just hold on, and our call screener will help you get connected with our staff. This is a tragedy, but God can repair this wound, and have a new life for this woman.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're continuing to take your calls for a while, so you can call us at 1-800-229-3000. And by we, I mean me, Becky Brown, Mylan Yurkovich, and Dr. Alice Benton. And we're going to go right to a call, and we're going to talk to Rich, who's calling us from Albany, New York, and listens on WHAZ. Hi, Rich. How are you today?
Yeah, okay. How you doing?
Good. How can we help you?
Thanks for taking me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So my situation is somewhat complicated in that I work with someone who I've known for many years, whose husband, who also worked in the same store, developed Alzheimer's about a year or so ago. And I've been a support for her during this time, in that, just when she's come through my line, I was a cashier. We would just discuss things about her situation. And I noticed myself, we were getting, we've gotten involved emotionally from this supporting her. And my concern is that it's, that it could lead into something more. And it's almost like I'm waiting. I feel like I'm on the on-deck circle and waiting, for a husband to die. I even hate saying that. But we've just, we text and email, not every day, but, pretty regularly, a few times a week. And I see her. I don't have to see her that often, but it's a very complicated situation because I've known her and her husband for many years and worked with them. So I'm asking how to support her and not become involved, in a relationship, romantic, physical relationship.
Well, that's a good question, Rich. Mylan or Alice, where would you begin?
Rich, first, I deeply respect your willingness to say you're waiting for her husband to pass away. Thank you for acknowledging that, for admitting that. And I'm going to very gently tell you, you already are involved. And your warning signs are going off, that there already is, even though romantic might seem like too strong of a word, you already, I believe, have crossed an emotional line with her, and you're too supportive while her husband is still alive. And I think you know that. That's why you're calling. Is that right? You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, So
let's transition your question from how do I protect it from becoming too involved, because you already are, to what do I do now that I realize I'm too involved? How does that question sit with you?
That it sounds fair enough. Yeah, it's because there's so much intrigue. When we are together in the store and helping, she said something, oh, we make a really good team. So, I mean, just like something like that, I'm like, off to the races with that. And, I've always found her attractive, but the fact that she was married and all of a sudden she seemingly became available, but not really. But she became available to me because of her vulnerability and weakness around this, and just
and Rich,
willingness to open up.
The most caring thing for you to do now is, I do believe you deeply care for her and her husband. The best thing to do would actually be to back away.
Yeah. That's
Mylan, what would you offer, Rich?
Well, the fact is she's still married. And her husband is not available, but she's still married. And so I would encourage you to really think along the lines what Alice said, that Dr. Benton is saying you're really in too deep already. And I love your call. And I might be honest with her and tell her that you're not pulling back because you don't care what's going on or you don't want to support. But you're not meeting in a place where you can fairly assess whether this is a good romantic relationship in the future or not. She's in a state of having to deal with a place of grief. You're a place of joy. And if she loses her husband, and sometime she will not be on a level playing field for a while, because she's going to have to adjust to the fact that she is without a mate now. I've known people who have fallen in love in the middle of grief, and they support each other. And then later, when the grief wears off, they realize that was my role, was to be a grief supporter. And I don't know, I don't know how to have a relationship that is absent from that core piece of grief recovery. And so it would be really important to build a relationship when she's outside of that. And I would just tell her, I feel like we're in too deep. I want to limit the number of texts, and I want to just back away. And I think Alice is absolutely right. You have to create distance.
And if you want to be, I want to offer this, and then we'll talk to Larry, who's in the studio. But Rich, the best thing that you could do for her is point her in the direction of support.
Yeah. Other females too.
Yes, other females. Get her connected with a community of Alzheimer's support groups. They are out there, and that could be the most loving thing that you could do. And also, it would be not taking advantage of her vulnerability at this point, which I don't think that's what you're thinking of, but that's what's happening. But thanks for calling. We're going to send you a copy of Every Man's Bible that will encourage you. Alice, you sound like you got one more thing you want to say.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's okay, Rich, to admit I recognize that my attraction is increasing. And so to care for you and your husband and your marriage, that's why I'm backing away.
Yes.
And Rich, I couldn't do that, honestly, if I were in your shoes, because I would be too attached to this woman. It would feel unkind to do so. So I also recommend that you tell a male friend that you've been challenged to do this and get some prayer support on it, so that you have help in following through with our advice.
Great. Thanks, Alice. And speaking of friends, Larry Sonnenberg is in the studio.
Hi, Becky.
Hello, friend.
Yeah, good
How
to
are
talk
you?
to you.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. I want to start off by
Thanks.
thanking everybody who has given to help our year-end close strong. Mail is still coming in, so we don't have a final tally, but I know it will be a good year-end. I just want to thank everybody for that.
Are New Life family is so generous. It blows my mind, and our gratitude overflows for you folks.
Yeah, it does. Well, this is Every Man's Battle Week. We're going to be in Washington, D.C. starting Friday. So, guys, I want to encourage you to sign up. And rather than read a testimony, we've got a testimony we're going to listen to. We've heard this in the past. It's from Rod.
I originally come from India. I'm sure my accent gave it away. I grew up with a lot of pornography addiction. It was prevalent there, and I'm entering this marriage assuming that watching porn is just normal for men, and marriage is going to fix it. I mean, you just get sex anytime, no restrictions, and that's the solution. But little did I know how naive I was. As soon as I got married, my behaviors, my actions did not change. And I came to my senses that I need to fix myself. That's when I started seeking some answers. I read the book, Every Man's Battle, which said, hey, there's also a workshop we do, which is called Every Man's Battle. And so I went to the Every Man's Battle workshop. And in all transparency, I am not of Christian faith, but I wanted to go in because here are a group of guys and girls, they're trying to teach something, and I want to learn what's behind there. What are they trying to teach? There's something valuable there. And I, in fact, even before I registered for the workshop, I called in and I checked, hey, I want to make sure I'm not a Christian. Can I still come in and attend? And the lady was very sweet, kind. She said, yes, you're welcome. I mean, it's Christian-based, you should know that, but anybody's welcome. And I show up there, and my whole definition of sexuality was so distorted in my head. He just put it all together. He fixed my head. And then we decided that a good next step for us is to come here to this workshop as a couple and learn what is marriage, what's the right way to do it. And you all have no idea how grateful I feel for what you have done for me, for my family, for my marriage, and for my future. And I don't think I can ever say enough words or do enough for you to say how grateful I am.
Well, we're grateful too, and we're grateful for all of you who support us going forward to help somebody like Raj get a handle on his life. 2 workshops did a trick. He went to Every Man's Battle, and then he went to Intimacy and Marriage with his wife, and it's changed things. And not only is he from another faith, but he started donating to New Life and has continued to this day. So we'll be back right after this.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Southern California February 11th to the 13th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Yes, we are back, and we're continuing to take your calls. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to record another show after this one. And right now we are going to talk. Yes?
Can I just say one thing?
You sure can.
After that testimony by Raj, I was there that morning. I think maybe you were too, Becky.
I was. I love it.
My goodness. And he did, this 1-2 combo where he went to every man's battle. But first he was honest with himself. He recognized that it wasn't working. His prep for marriage wasn't working. And that also meant that his wife could tell him that somehow, some way, that this isn't working. And he went to every man's battle. Then they came to our marriage intensive. And it was just the most amazing testimony I've ever heard. We were all standing, we were standing, and our mouths were open, and it was absolutely incredible. And in just 6 weeks, we have another workshop coming up in February, the 11th, 12th, 13th here in Orange County, California. We would love to have you here. It is not snowing here.
Yes.
I just want to tell you that.
That's right.
There are no flurries. There's just maybe a little rain and damp and chilly, but that's about it. And we'd love to have you come out here.
Yeah, it could make all the difference in the world. We're going to go to Maria, who will be our final caller for this show, but we are still taking calls. So hang on if you're on hold. Maria, thanks so much for calling. She's calling us from Los Angeles and listens on KKLA. It's a great station. How can we help you, Maria?
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my call. I have a 14-year-old daughter who, the reason why I'm calling was because her sisters overheard something on my AirPod, and it was like a porno-style type thing. So I confronted my daughter, and she said that she was curious, and that she was watching it. This is like the second time that I've caught her within a gap of maybe 8 months. I asked her why did she do it, what are the reasons that go through her head. I mean, I don't know if I was asking the right question because I was still in shock. Again, because, I trusted her on, giving her back the phone after she started school just because of emergency purposes and stuff like that. But she said that she just did it just to fit in. I guess peer pressure from kids in high school. For me, I don't know what steps should I take, or should I put her in counseling? What should I do? That's why I'm calling you guys to see if you guys can help me.
Well, thanks, Maria, for calling. Unfortunately, you aren't the only parent who is dealing with this kind of thing in this day and age. And I know, Alice, you've done some research on this. I don't know if you want to start.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll see what Mylan has to say.
I will put in a question first, Maria. Tell us about her father's position in her life.
He's present physically, but I feel like emotionally he's very disconnected from her, which I have approached him and told him that, I see the same pattern that my father and I had, like he's a provider, and they assume that just because they provide monetary stuff that's enough, instead of trying to have a bond with, your daughters. It's more of a, well, I'm here, what else am I supposed to do? Carry a conversation, ask her how she's doing, what is she up to, get involved in certain things. He does get involved in her sports. I'm showing up consistently. But that's as far as it goes.
And it leaves the burden of responsibility on you to address this sort of problem with your daughter. Maria,
yes, because everything that goes in my household, it's my fault. If anything goes wrong with her, it's me because I'm the one that's practically with her 99% of the time.
Your husband accuses you of it being your fault.
Yes. Anything that goes wrong with her is going to be my fault because I'm the one that's basically raising her.
Oh, so not only are you worried about her pornography use, but also you're receiving accusations and lack of support from your husband with what your daughter is going through. What a heavy, frightening burden for you, Maria. Maria, what would hold you back from putting her in therapy and receiving your own therapy, even requesting some family therapy? Give the strongest reason why you wouldn't do that.
I don't really have a very strong one. Just depending on the amount of money that it requires to pay for it, which I don't mind if it's like once or twice a month, but it all depends on how much it is.
You are already paying such a high price for not being in therapy. And so is your daughter and your marriage, and the other girls are as well. So yes, therapy can be expensive. It can. But so many clinicians are also willing to do a sliding scale fee. So don't hesitate to express the financial burden to a therapist to ask for help on that. Now, I do highly recommend therapy, but family therapy, because this is so much more than just your daughter. And she has this variety of reasons for why she's attracted to pornography. And there probably is an attempt to comfort herself and to comfort that neglect that she's feeling from her father and his emotional absence. On the technology side, I want you to consider installing the Bark system, and Bark monitors what she's doing and sends you a report so that you're more aware of what she's texting about, searching, talking about with friends. I'd also have you consider a parent-controlled cell phone, such as a Pinwheel or a Gab phone, because there are a lot of ways to ensure much higher level of safety so that it's less accessible. But then you got to get to the root of why she's attracted to pornography as well.
Very good. Mylan, do you have anything before we end?
Yes, I do, and I'll be brief, Maria. You know, your husband's emotional distancing is also from you, Maria, and I don't want to be too overt with that because I know that's painful, but he's emotionally distant from you as well. And because of that, there will be a natural inability to have the conversation that he's not having with you. He's not going to be able to invent that with his daughter. Mm-hmm. So one of the most important things he can do is learn to do that with you. And that's why family therapy is really important. Marriage therapy is really important so he can begin to learn to have conversations. I bet nobody in his family ever had conversations with him. Right. Number two, it's quite possible that for some males who themselves are addicted to pornography, they take their little daughters who are little, and when they become teenagers, they push them away because they become sexualized in their eyes because they're turning into a woman. That would be another thing I would want to be aware of, that some men are afraid to be close to their adulting daughters because of what's inside of them. And I just think it's really important to realize, lastly, and I'll be very brief, I expect curiosity, sexual curiosity from my kids. I expect it because God created us as sexual beings. So when you say you're shocked, I want you to just think about that for a minute. I'm not shocked. If when I would catch my kids looking at pornography, I would say to them, I've been expecting this. It's not a shock. You're a sexual creature. You're going to be curious. The challenge is, as Alice already said, is to create a system that doesn't allow her to easily get into that world.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mylan. And thank you, Maria, for calling. And, you know, this year could be the new year in your life. We have all kinds of different ways to help you. Maybe it's a workshop, maybe 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or check out newlife.com and see what might be the next step for you. Thanks so much, Alice. Thank you, Mylan. And we'll see you next time on New Life Live. God bless y'all.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.